Over a fifth of China's landmass is barren, uninhabitable desert. But what the Chinese government is doing in these sand dunes will absolutely shock you. Enter the remote Kubuchi Desert, a vast expanse of endless sand dunes which happens to contain a solar power plant 20 times the size of New York City's Central Park. It's already the largest solar park in the world by size and capacity, but shockingly, it's still growing every single day. In fact, by the end of the decade, it's expected to cover an area around 60,000 hectaacres, which will be 200 times the size of Central Park and have a capacity of 16 gigawatts. At that point, it will absolutely dwarf every other solar power plant on the planet. For comparison, the United States' largest solar park is just over 2,000 hectaacres and can only produce around half a gigawatt. But how is it possible for China to build a solar park 30 times larger than its American counterpart? And more importantly, why is China doing this? The answer is remarkable, as the massive Kubuchi renewables base I've just mentioned is actually just one of an astonishing 225 renewable energy bases being built across China's western and northern deserts. This is a gigantic project on an absolutely mind-boggling scale. Altogether, these new bases will produce a whopping 455 gigawatts when completed, 60% coming from solar, with the remaining 40% coming from wind. Cosimo Reis, a Shanghai-based energy analyst, sums it up best. It's mind-blowing. There's nothing in history you can benchmark this against. To put this in perspective, this is more clean energy generation capacity than is currently available in any nation outside of China, and almost the size of India's entire power network, which already is the world's third largest system. In other words, this solar project from China can almost cover all of India's current energy needs. This capacity is also equal to the current green energy capacity of Canada, Japan, Germany, and France combined. What's more, China plans to increase its total renewable energy capacity to nearly 4,000 gigawatts or 4 terawatts by 2030, 1,200 of which will come from solar and wind power. Incidentally, 1,200 gigawatts is enough to meet all of the US electricity needs today. Solar power will dominate the future of renewable energies. In fact, it will be the dominant source of renewable energy by the end of this decade, and globally will have 3 times as much capacity as wind energy, according to Bloomberg projections. Part of solar power's advantage compared to other green energies is its ability to be deployed rapidly and scaled up very quickly, thus reducing emissions in a very short amount of time. And it's in solar power where China is the indisputable leader. Think I'm exaggerating? Just check out these insane stats. China accounts for at least 75% of the world's supply chain for solar, and for some components, like solar wafers, some 96.8%. It also supplies an astonishing 89% of the world's solar-grade polysilicon, the key material in all solar panels, according to a new report from Bernreuther Research. In terms of production capacity, China went from being able to produce 6 times as many solar panels as the US about 15 years ago to being able to produce 70 times as many today. But solar power is just the beginning. In less than 2 decades, China has come to dominate the renewable energy sector across several green energy sources, whether it's solar, wind, hydropower, or nuclear. For example, China has been the largest producer of wind power in the world for several years now, having generated about 30% of the global total already in 2021. In fact, China boasts the largest wind farm on the planet, the monumental huge Gansu wind farm. Its capacity of nearly 8 gigawatts absolutely dwarfs the competition, and it's already planned to increase this to a massive 20 gigawatts by 2025. This will give it the ability to power an incredible 15 million homes. It's also no secret that China dominates hydropower and boasts the world's largest hydroelectric dam by far, the famous and massive Three Gorges Dam. In fact, it's not just the largest source of hydropower, it's actually the largest power station of any type in the world, period, including those powered by fossil fuels. What's more, the second and fourth largest power stations in the world are also hydroelectric dams in China. But what about nuclear power? China is also leading the way. The country plans to build 150 new nuclear reactors in the next 15 years, which is more than what the entire world has built in the last 35 years. On top of this, China just greenlighted its first molten salt thorium reactor, which has several advantages over traditional uranium reactors. It was expected to take 6 years to build, but scientists and engineers completed the work in only 3 years. This is an absolute game changer for China, and if you want to learn more, watch to the end of today's video and I'll share with you a full deep dive presentation on this groundbreaking new reactor that can power China with enough electricity for the next 20,000 years. Overall, China produced over 30% of the world's renewable energy in 2021 based on data from the International Renewables Energy Agency, and this percentage is only going to increase as China continues to rapidly expand its renewable energy capacity. But let's now address the central question, which is how on earth did China achieve this, and more importantly, why are they doing this? Like several industries which China has recently come to dominate, China dominates solar and other renewable energies for three crucial reasons. Number one, unmatched prowess and experience in manufacturing. China's manufacturing capabilities are tremendously advanced, efficient, and operate at China speed. Simply put, China's manufacturing capabilities represent a supreme advantage over every other nation on Earth. This experience also extends to massive infrastructure projects and the ability to get them done quickly, which China is indisputably the world champion at. Number two, supply chain integration. Due to China's unmatched manufacturing prowess, nearly everything can be made in China. This has allowed most Chinese companies to consolidate and streamline their supply chains far better than non-Chinese companies. And as you can see, the solar industry is no exception. Another prime example is the Chinese EV maker BYD, who owns and controls its entire supply chain. Ford CEO Jim Farley sums it up best. There is one huge company that is so impressive, BYD. They're in a totally different world than Tesla. They're totally vertically integrated, completely, all the way to batteries. No one is doing that on the globe. This is truly the China advantage. By owning and controlling every aspect of the supply chain, this is why Chinese companies can dominate certain industries like EV. And it's also why BYD just overtook Tesla as the world's largest EV car maker last year. Number three, strong support from the Chinese government. China's unique one-party system and firm support from both the central and local governments have played a significant role in helping grow China's major industries rapidly without being bogged down by bureaucratic hurdles or regulations. Once the Chinese government gives the green light to certain industries, like renewable energy, AI, and microchips, the world can be certain that Chinese companies will make significant progress, as the Chinese government can give generous subsidies and eliminate the red tape to help companies innovate faster. Of course, when it comes to solar and other industries such as EV, China also controls the key raw materials needed to produce the necessary products. Remember, China supplies an astonishing 89% of the world's solar-grade polysilicon, the key material in all solar panels. But there's a bigger question here. Why is China doing all this? The answer might actually surprise you and is best explained with a few examples. A few years ago, China faced widespread power supply shortages that caused tens of thousands of families to be left in the dark at times. In the fall of 2021, there was a global coal shortage, and since China still depends on coal to a significant extent, this forced parts of China to go dark. Likewise, in the summer of 2022, China experienced major droughts, which caused significant shortages in hydroelectric power, which forced it to turn to coal. Of course, the most famous example is China's toxic air pollution. Most famously, Beijing's so-called airpocalypse in January 2013, which culminated in the central government declaring a war on air pollution. In light of all this, it's abundantly clear why China is building huge solar parks across all of its deserts. Simply put, it's about achieving energy independence, energy security, and environmental objectives such as protecting the health of its citizens. In other words, if China can produce clean energy that doesn't harm the environment, doesn't run out or suffer from shortages, and doesn't need to be imported, then these objectives will undoubtedly be achieved. But why is China building its solar parks in its sandy deserts? While the country's vast expanses of sand dunes are quite inhospitable to human life, they not only experience scorching sunshine the vast majority of the year, but also predictable and persistent winds. But of course, there's a major issue that needs to be addressed here. Being able to generate all this clean energy is well and good, but it's not enough to simply generate clean energy. Getting this clean energy where it needs to go is the next crucial step and a mega project by itself. Take a look at this map, which highlights China's vast desert areas, stretching from Xinjiang in the west through Gansu and into Inner Mongolia, just north of the capital city of Beijing. This is where the majority of Chinese wind and solar energy is being produced. But how does China get this energy to the eastern coast, where the vast majority of Chinese citizens live? Usually transporting electricity long distances via large power lines leads to significant waste, with much of the electricity lost along the way. However, China has a unique solution. It's one of only 2 countries on Earth that uses ultra-high voltage direct current power lines. These are special type of power cables which lose far less electricity compared to conventional AC power cables, and have helped solve this major issue of transporting energy to where it is needed. The only other country to use these UHV power lines is Brazil, which currently operates 2 of them. China, by comparison, already has 25. Now, of course, there will be skeptics who counter China's rise in renewable energy and point out that China is still a major consumer of coal. Let's be honest here. China is in fact building more coal plants even as it ramps up its renewable energy capacity. In fact, its coal production increased by 2% in 2023 compared to 2022. However, this is because China has a tremendous demand for energy overall, simply due to its sheer size, and this demand is skyrocketing as China develops into an advanced economy. While the expansion of China's renewable energy capacity has been very rapid so far, it's still not enough to meet the country's surging energy demand. Eventually, as China continues to build these solar desert parks and its countless other renewable energy bases, its green energy capacity will catch up with its demand. In addition, most experts agree that China will still achieve its ambitious climate targets, which are peaking its carbon emissions by 2030, followed by achieving carbon neutrality by 2060. And it's precisely because of this massive and rapid increase of green energy capacity that many experts predict China will in fact achieve its goals and ambitions. Everyone, China has come to dominate renewable energies and is now an indisputable world leader in this industry. It's facts like these that demonstrate just how central of a role China will play in the future of our world, a world which desperately needs us to rapidly expand our green energy capacities. And this once again demonstrates just how important it is for the US and the West to learn to work together with China to create a better future for tomorrow, instead of sanctioning and trying to block China's rise at every single turn. Everyone, thank you for taking time out of your day to spend it with me here on YouTube. And if you want to learn more about China's newest thorium reactor and how it could potentially power the country with enough electricity for the next 20,000 years, click here to watch this full video presentation. It's absolutely fascinating. And again, this is why we are studying China, because they are inventing the future technologies that are going to transform our world and make it better for everyone around the globe. Everyone, thank you for your support, and I look forward to seeing you all in our next video soon.